Did you ever feel it? A question mark living under your skin, a sense that you are playing a part, reciting lines you did not write from a script you have never read. We build our lives like careful fortresses, brick by brick, success by success, yet inside those very walls, a ghost of a truer self walks the halls, whispering of a forgotten kingdom. This whisper is the secret. It is the secret the great sage of the heart did not just want to teach you, but wanted you to remember, for you were born knowing it. The secret is not that you are destined for greatness, but that you are already vast. The lie is that you must become worthy. The truth, the secret truth, is that your feeling of unworthiness is the very doorway to the divine. It is the hollow space that allows the music to be played through you. If you feel that hollowness, that strange and sacred ache of a homesickness for a place you can't name, then you are one of the ones the message is for. Acknowledge that feeling by liking this video, a quiet signal across the digital expanse that you hear the whisper too. This is not just a story, it is an excavation of a truth buried in your own heart. To join this dig, to walk this path of remembering with us, subscribe to the channel. The journey inward is treacherous, and no one should have to make it alone. The great secret is that the universe is not a lock you must find the key for. It is a mirror, and the sage's work was only ever to hand you a cloth to wipe the dust away. The face you have been searching for in every lover, in every ambition, in every sacred text, is your own. But it is a face you have forgotten, a face that existed before the world told you who you should be. This journey is the story of that remembering. It is not about learning something new, it is about unlearning everything that is false. It is the art of demolition, the raising of the prisons we call our personalities. The sage's poetry is not a set of instructions, it is a collection of sledgehammers, each one forged in the fire of ecstatic love, designed to shatter the walls of the small self. He calls not to the righteous, but to the ruined. His caravan is not a procession of saints, but a refuge for runaways, a hospital for the heartsick. The only price of admission is your brokenness. The only map is your longing. So let us begin. Not by looking up at a distant heaven, but by looking down into the beautiful, chaotic, and sacred ruins of our own hearts. For the secret Rumi wanted you to remember is that the treasure is buried in the ruins, your own ruins. The quest is not to find the light. It is to find the courage to enter your own darkness, for that is where the light has been waiting all along. Listen, that is the first step, not with the ears, but with the soul. What do you hear beneath the frantic monologue of your mind, beneath the incessant demands of the world? There is a silence, isn't there? A vast, living silence that is not empty, but full. Full of a presence you have been taught to fear. We are taught to fill every silence, to distract ourselves from the vastness within. We are a culture of noise, a civilization of escape artists, running from the one thing that can save us, our own depths. The secret the sage whispers across the centuries is this: stop running. The thing you are running from is your own power, your own divinity. Your fear of the silence is the fear of meeting your true self. Because your true self is not the manageable, predictable, and wounded personality you have come to know. Your true self is as wild and as boundless as the ocean. It is the creator and the destroyer of worlds. It is terrifyingly free. And so we build our lives as soundproof rooms. We insulate ourselves with routines, with beliefs, with relationships, with ambitions. We keep the volume of the world turned up to drown out the roar of the silence within. The sage's poetry is an invitation to turn the volume down, to sit in the quiet and let the fear arise, to watch it, to feel it, without judgment, without running. He tells us that this fear is the guardian at the gate. It is the dragon that guards the treasure. And the only way to pass the dragon is to let it consume you. It is the fire of transformation. You must be willing to burn. The secret is that the fire will not destroy you. It will only destroy who you think you are. It will burn away the mask, the role, the story. And what remains when the story is gone? What is left when the mask melts away? the silence, the presence, the face of the beloved, your face. The journey into the silent chamber of the heart is not a gentle stroll. It is a pilgrimage through a desert, the desert of your own conditioning, the desert of everything you thought you knew. We are born into a world that gives us a map from the first day, a map to happiness, to success, to love. We are told, go to school, get a job, find a partner, accumulate things, and you will be happy. We follow this map diligently. We navigate the landmarks, we cross the rivers, we climb the mountains. But some of us, perhaps all of us at some point, arrive at the destination marked on the map, the place called "You should be happy now," and we find nothing there. An empty city, a dry well. This is the moment of crisis. But it is also the moment of grace. It is the moment we realize the map we were given was a lie. Not a malicious lie, but a lie born of a collective forgetting. A lie passed down from one generation of sleepwalkers to another. The secret the sage reveals is that this disillusionment, this heartbreak, this arrival in the empty city is the true beginning of the journey. It is the moment we are finally ready to discard the false map and begin the terrifying, exhilarating work of drawing our own. This new map is not drawn with ink on paper. It is drawn with footsteps in the sand. It has no destination because the journey itself is the destination. The path is created by walking it. And what guides our steps? Not logic, not reason, not the advice of others. The only compass in this desert is the ache in our own hearts, the longing, that homesickness for a place we have never been. The sage tells us that this longing is the voice of the beloved calling our name. The secret is that what you seek is seeking you. The search is not a lonely, one-way pursuit. It is a cosmic dance of reunion. You are not a pilgrim searching for a distant god. You are a lover being drawn home by a beloved who misses you more than you can imagine. With this realization, the desert is transformed. The emptiness is no longer a void to be feared, but a space of infinite possibility. The silence is no longer a threat, but an intimate conversation. We stop looking for signs in the world and start listening to the wisdom in our own blood, in our own bones. We learn to navigate by the stars of our own intuition. We embrace the holy state of being lost, for we understand that to be lost to the world is to be found by the divine. The wind in the desert whispers the secret again and again. Lose your way. It is the only way to find me. The path of the heart is a path of fire. Once we have thrown the world's map into the flames, once we have committed to navigating by the compass of our own longing, we enter the crucible. This is the stage of purification, the burning away of everything that is not love. The sage speaks of this fire not with terror, but with the ecstatic joy of a true lover. Love is the fire, he says. When it burns, it consumes everything except the beloved. This is the secret alchemy of the spiritual path. It is not about adding anything to ourselves, not more knowledge, not more virtue, not more piety. It is a process of subtraction, of unlearning, of becoming naked. The fire burns away the small self, the ego, that part of us that has been so carefully constructed since birth. The ego is the entity that believes it is separate. Separate from others, separate from the world, separate from the divine. It thrives on comparison, on judgment, on fear. It is the fortress we have built to protect a non-existent treasure. The process of burning this fortress down is painful. It feels like death because a part of us is dying. The part that needs to be right, the part that needs to be in control, the part that is terrified of vulnerability. We are like raw metal being thrust into the forge. We scream and we struggle. We cry out, "Why is this happening to me?" The divine blacksmith, the beloved, whispers back, "I am not destroying you. I am reshaping you. I am burning away your impurities. I am tempering you into a sword of light." Every hardship, every loss, every heartbreak, every moment of despair on this journey is not an obstacle. It is the fire itself. These are not signs that we are on the wrong path. They are proof that the transformation is working. The secret Rumi wanted you to remember is that the wound is the place where the light enters you. The world teaches us to armor our hearts, to hide our wounds, to pretend we are not broken. The path of love demands the opposite. It demands that we have the courage to break, to shatter, to fall apart. Because it is only when the carefully constructed vessel of the self is broken that the light within can finally shine out. It is in the cracks of our brokenness that the beloved can plant the seeds of a new creation. So we learn to stop running from the fire. We turn and face it. We walk into the flames willingly, trusting that this fire is not a fire of destruction, but a fire of love, a fire that will burn away everything that we are not, so that all that remains is what we have always been: pure, luminous, love itself. As the fire of transformation purifies our vision, the world itself begins to change. Or rather, our perception of it changes. The solid, separate, and mundane reality we once knew begins to shimmer, to dissolve, revealing a hidden dimension, a sacred architecture beneath the surface of things. We begin to see with the eyes of the heart, and the eyes of the heart see only one thing: the face of the beloved, reflected everywhere. A leaf falling from a tree is no longer a random event. It is a gesture of surrender. The cry of a newborn baby is the sound of the universe being born anew. The lines on an old woman's face are a map of 1,000 journeys to the divine. This is the secret the sage taught. The universe is not outside of you. Look inside yourself. Everything that you want, you are already that. This is the radical shift from a paradigm of seeking to a paradigm of seeing. We are not on a quest to find a treasure in some distant land. We are learning to recognize the treasure that has been in our own possession all along. This realization brings with it a state of spiritual intoxication, an ecstatic joy that the sage compares to drunkenness. He speaks of the tavern of love, a place that exists not in any city, but in the heart of the seeker. In this tavern, the wine that is served is not made from grapes. It is the wine of direct experiential knowledge of the divine. This wine dissolves all inhibitions, all fears, all dogmas. In the tavern of love, there are no rules of religion, no judgments, no distinctions between the sinner and the saint. The only requirement is thirst. The famous invitation echoes through the ages: come, come, whoever you are. Wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving. It doesn't matter. Ours is not a caravan of despair. Come, even if you have broken your vows 1,000 times. Come, yet again, come, come. This is the secret of radical inclusivity. The path of the heart is open to everyone, especially the broken, the outcast, the ones who feel they do not belong. In the world's temples, you may be judged by your piety. In the tavern of love, you are judged only by the sincerity of your heart. The one who performs their rituals for show is cast out, while the weeping sinner, who brings nothing but a broken and open heart, is welcomed as the guest of honor. We learn that true sobriety is not the absence of this divine intoxication, but the state of being constantly, blissfully drunk on the presence of the beloved. Life itself becomes the tavern. Every breath is a sip of holy wine. The world is no longer a desert to be endured, but a garden to be explored. A garden where every flower, every stone, every creature whispers the secret name of the one we love. The journey inward, through the desert of the mind and the fire of the heart, leads to a place of absolute stillness, a silent chamber at the very core of our being. Here, in this sacred sanctum, all searching ceases. The lover, who has been crying out for the beloved, who has searched for their face in every corner of creation, finally turns their gaze inward and realizes the ultimate secret. The sage's words echo in this silence. I have been looking for myself. The separation was a dream. The distance was an illusion. The beloved was never out there. The beloved is the very ground of our own being. The drop of water, after its long and arduous journey as vapor and cloud and rain and river, finally merges back into the ocean. And in that moment of merging, it realizes the truth. It was never not the ocean. It was ocean pretending to be a drop. This is the state of union, the dissolution of the ego self into the infinite reality of the one. This is a state that words cannot touch. Language is a tool of a world of duality, of me and you, of this and that. It breaks down at the threshold of this reality. Silence is the language of God, the sage tells us. All else is poor translation. This is why the poetry, for all its beauty, is ultimately a finger pointing at the moon. The words are a raft to get you to the other shore. Once you arrive, you must leave the raft behind. When this inner union is realized, the need for external forms of devotion begins to fall away. The heart itself becomes the temple. The body itself becomes the altar. Every breath is a prayer. Every heartbeat is the drum of the dervish, calling us to remembrance. The world is not denied or rejected, but it is seen for what it is, a beautiful, shimmering, and transient play of light and shadow, a dance of forms emerging from a single, formless source. There is no longer a need to go on pilgrimage to a holy city, for the entire universe is revealed as a holy land. Every place is Mecca, every moment is sacred time. The lover who has found this union becomes a source of profound peace in the world. They do not need to preach or to convert. Their very presence becomes a testament to the reality of love. They are the still point around which the chaotic world turns. They are the eye of the storm. They have come home, and they have realized the most liberating secret of all. Home was not a place to get to, but a reality to awaken to. A reality that was here, inside us, waiting patiently this entire time. A great and beautiful paradox unfolds with the realization of union. The seeker who journeyed so far and sacrificed so much to lose themselves, to annihilate the ego, now finds themselves more truly and fully than ever before. But this new self is not the small, fearful, and defensive self of the past. It is a self as vast as the universe, a self that is not separate from anything, but intimately connected to all of life. Having dissolved into the ocean, the drop now looks out at the world through the eyes of the ocean. This is the return journey, the journey of abiding in the divine. The mystic, having discovered the kingdom of heaven within, now learns how to live in the ordinary world again, but in an utterly extraordinary way. The sage himself was the perfect model for this. After his own radical transformation, he did not become a hermit. He became a whirlwind of creative energy, a fountain of love and wisdom that poured out into the world. He taught, he danced, he wrote, he loved. His life became a living expression of the infinite reality he had discovered within. The one who has completed this journey no longer draws a line between the sacred and the secular. The mundane becomes magical. Washing the dishes is a meditation on purity. Walking to the market is a pilgrimage. A conversation with a neighbor is a holy communion. They are in the world, but they are not of the world. They can participate in the games of life, the ambitions, the struggles, the joys, the sorrows, but they are no longer identified with them. They know that it is all a divine play, a cosmic drama. This knowledge brings an incredible sense of freedom, of lightness. The anxieties and fears that once drove them now seem like a half-remembered dream. Their primary work is no longer to achieve or to acquire, but simply to be. To be a clear and open channel for love to flow into the world. They become, in the sage's words, a window through which the sun can shine. They understand that their individual life is a single, unique note in the grand symphony of existence, and their only task is to play that note with as much beauty, as much truth, and as much love as they can muster. They are no longer a prisoner of their past or a hostage to their future. They live fully in the eternal now, the only place where reality exists. They have become the field the sage spoke of, the field out beyond all ideas of wrongdoing and right-doing. It is a space of radical acceptance and unconditional love, a space where judgment cannot breathe. And in this field, they meet all beings, seeing in every eye the same divine spark, the same secret self that they have discovered in their own heart. The caravan has arrived at its destination, only to realize the secret that it was never moving at all. It was always and has always been in the heart of the beloved. And so the journey begins anew with every single breath. One of the greatest misunderstandings of the spiritual path is that it is a ladder to be climbed, a vertical ascent from a lower, profane state to a higher, sacred one. The sage's vision reveals a different geometry. The path is not a ladder, but a circle, a journey from the self, through the self, back to the self. We begin as a constricted, fearful ego, believing ourselves to be separate and alone. Through the sacred alchemy of longing, surrender, fire, and revelation, we are broken open and return to our true nature, which is vast, loving, and eternally free. The end is simply a return to the beginning, but with new eyes. We come back to the same ordinary world, but we no longer see it as a place of exile and separation. We see it as a dazzling, luminous manifestation of the beloved's own beauty. The secret Rumi wanted you to remember is that this journey is not reserved for a spiritual elite, for the saints, the mystics, the perfected ones. The caravan, as the metaphor implies, is for everyone. Perfection is a sterile concept of the ego, a dead-end street. The soul is not interested in perfection, it is interested in wholeness. And wholeness includes our flaws, our wounds, our beautiful imperfections. The only ticket required for this journey is willingness. The willingness to be honest about our own thirst. The willingness to be confused. The willingness to admit that we are lost. The willingness to be broken. The willingness to be consumed by a love that is far greater than our small, rational minds can comprehend. The sage's poetry is a living testament to this. It is not a poetry of piety, it is a poetry of ruin. It celebrates the madness of love, the drunkenness of the soul, the beautiful wreckage of the surrendered ego. He consistently champions the sincere sinner over the self-righteous hypocrite. Why? Because the sinner, in their acknowledged brokenness, has an opening. There is a crack. They know they need help. The pious hypocrite, sealed in their fortress of self-righteousness, is a closed system. There is no room for the divine to enter a space that is already full of itself. Therefore, our weaknesses, our failures, our shame, our deepest heartbreaks, these are not hindrances to the path. They are the path. Each time we stumble, each time we fall, is a precious opportunity to surrender more deeply, to let go of the illusion of our own strength and to fall back into the ever-present arms of grace. The caravan is a fellowship of the beautifully imperfect, a gathering of souls who have had the immense courage to declare their own spiritual bankruptcy. They have given up the exhausting pretense of being in control. They have laid down the rusty weapons of their own cleverness and have allowed themselves to be conquered by love. This is the great secret, the ultimate paradox. The victory is not in winning, but in losing. The triumph is not in strength, but in surrender. The liberation is not in becoming someone, but in becoming no one. And so we are invited, right now, in this moment, to bring our whole selves to the journey. Not just the parts we are proud of, the parts we curate for the world to see. We bring our doubts. We bring our fears. We bring our messy, complicated, and contradictory hearts. We bring our history of broken promises and failed resolutions. The caravan has room for all of it. It is a hospital for the soul, a place of healing, not a museum for saints. The door is wide open. The invitation has been sent. It does not ask if we are worthy. It asks only if we are willing. The language of the heart, the language the sage spoke, is the language of paradox. It is a language that shatters the rigid categories of the rational mind. It speaks of a luminous darkness, a sober drunkenness, a silent music. It speaks of a wealth that is found only in utter poverty, a knowledge that is born from unknowing, a victory that is achieved only through absolute defeat. To the logical intellect, this is madness. To the soul, This is the unmistakable ring of truth. To travel in the caravan is to become comfortable with contradiction, to learn how to hold two opposing ideas in a loving embrace until they reveal their hidden unity. One of the central paradoxes is that of the lover and the beloved. The entire journey, as we have seen, is fueled by the lover's passionate, desperate, and often painful yearning for a beloved who seems separate, distant, and sometimes maddeningly silent. The poetry is drenched in the tears of this separation, and yet the ultimate realization, the great secret, is that the lover and the beloved are, and have always been, one and the same. There was never any distance. How can this be? It is a mystery that cannot be solved. It can only be dissolved into. It is the paradox of a wave in the ocean, filled with a deep and poignant longing for the ocean, not realizing that it is, in its very essence, nothing but ocean. The longing itself is the proof of the union. The pain of separation is the other side of the coin of the bliss of reunion. You cannot have one without the other. This is why the sage never offers a path that bypasses suffering. He shows us, instead, how to find the beloved hidden within the heart of our suffering. Another profound paradox is that of freedom and surrender. We are called to surrender our personal will, our carefully crafted plans, our precious ego. To the world, this sounds like a terrifying loss of freedom, a form of spiritual slavery. But the sage reveals the opposite secret. The ego, with its constant chatter of fears and desires, is the real prison. Its walls are built of our need to control, our need for security, our fear of the unknown. By surrendering to the divine will, which is nothing other than the universal flow of love, we are liberated from the claustrophobic dungeon of the small self. We become like a bird that finally stops struggling against the wind and learns to ride its currents. We are carried effortlessly to destinations we could never have reached on our own. This is true freedom. The freedom to be our authentic selves, unburdened by the heavy armor of a false identity. And then there is the paradox of silence and speech. The sage was a master of language, his poetry a torrential river of eloquence. And yet he constantly points beyond words to the supreme importance of silence. I have a universe of speech inside me, he says, but I have sealed my lips. The words are the finger pointing at the moon. The moon itself is the silent, direct, luminous experience of the divine. The poetry is the boat that carries us across the river of illusion. Once we arrive on the other shore, we must leave the boat behind. The journey begins by listening to the sage's words, but it culminates in a state of pure, wordless listening, a deep communion with the silent music of existence itself. To travel with the caravan is to make our home inside these paradoxes. It is to allow them to stretch our minds beyond their limits and to break our hearts open until we arrive at that still, silent center where all opposites meet and are reconciled in the boundless, loving mystery of the One. As we journey deeper into the inner landscape with the caravan, we begin to recognize the inhabitants of this terrain. The desert is our own mind, cluttered with the debris of old beliefs. The fire is our own heart, burning with a new and holy passion. And the figures we meet along the way are also archetypes, aspects of our own psyche. The sage's poetry is a grand theater populated with these inner characters, and understanding them is key to understanding the drama of our own transformation. There is, of course, the lover, the seeker, the part of us that is consumed by a sacred longing. This is the courageous aspect of our soul that is willing to abandon the comfort of the known for the uncertainty of the quest. The lover is often portrayed as mad, drunk, and heedless of social convention. This madness is not a pathology, but a higher sanity, a state of being so radically aligned with the heart's truth that the world's trivial rules and expectations no longer apply. Then there is the beloved, the ultimate object of the lover's desire. The beloved is the divine reality, the source, the ocean of being. But in the poetry, This ultimate reality is described with the most intimate and personal terms. The beloved has eyes that bewitch, hair that ensnares, lips that offer the wine of immortality. The beloved is beautiful, captivating, and often frustratingly elusive, hiding their face, testing the lover's sincerity. This personification is a secret key. It is not meant to reduce the divine to a human form, but to elevate the human capacity for love into a vehicle for the divine. It allows us to engage with the ultimate mystery, not as an abstract philosophical principle, but as the supreme love affair of our lives. A pivotal figure in the tavern of the heart is the cupbearer, the spiritual guide. The cupbearer is the one who pours the wine of divine knowledge. This can be an external teacher or a master, but ultimately, the true cupbearer is an inner reality, a direct manifestation of the beloved's grace. The cupbearer knows the path, knows the precise wine that the seeker needs at each stage of the journey. The relationship with the cupbearer is one of absolute trust and surrender. We must be willing to drink whatever is poured for us, whether it tastes sweet as honey or bitter as poison, trusting that it is the perfect medicine for our soul. And then there are the antagonists, the figures who represent the obstacles on the path. There is the stern, dogmatic preacher who represents a religion of rules without love, of fear without mercy. There is the self-righteous ascetic who makes a great public show of piety, but whose heart is a cold, empty stone. And there is the cold, calculating intellect, which is always trying to measure and define a reality that is immeasurable and indefinable, always trying to capture the ocean in a teacup. These are not just characters in a story. They are voices within our own minds, patterns of energy within our own consciousness. The journey of the caravan is an inner psychodrama, a process of integrating these different parts of ourselves. The secret is to allow the lover in us to completely overcome the preacher and the intellect, to surrender completely to the guidance of the inner cupbearer in order to finally, blissfully unite with the beloved who was our own true self all along. The fuel that moves the caravan across the vast and often perilous inner desert is courage. But this is not the courage of the soldier, the courage of aggression and force. It is a much rarer and more profound courage. It is the courage to be vulnerable. It is the courage to live with a completely open heart in a world that is constantly giving us reasons to shut it down. The path the sage illuminates is not for the faint of heart. It demands nothing less than the complete dismantling of the fortress of the self. This is a terrifying proposition. The ego, our sense of a separate and fragile self, survives by means of its defense mechanisms. It builds walls of pride, moats of cynicism, and watchtowers of intellectual superiority. These defenses are designed to keep us safe from pain, from humiliation, from heartbreak. But the secret is that these walls, designed to keep pain out, also keep love out. They are not a fortress, they are a prison. The journey requires that we systematically, stone by stone, tear down these walls. We must have the courage to feel our own pain without numbing it. We must have the courage to sit with our own loneliness without distracting ourselves. We must have the courage to admit our own ignorance without pretending to have all the answers. We must have the courage to love without any guarantee of being loved in return. The sage uses the powerful metaphor of the moth and the flame. The moth is so irresistibly drawn to the light of the candle that it flies directly into the fire, knowing it will be utterly consumed. For the moth, this consumption is not an act of suicide. It is the ultimate consummation of its love. It is liberation from the prison of its moth self into the boundless reality of light and heat. Be a moth, the sage advises. Burn yourself in the fire of love. This kind of courage is not about being fearless. Fear will arise. The terror of letting go, of losing control, is immense. True courage is about acting in spite of the fear. It is about feeling the terror and taking the leap anyway. It is about trusting that if we jump into the abyss of love, a net will appear. That net is the infinite grace of the beloved. The path of love is a path of constant, radical risk. We risk our reputation by appearing foolish to a world that values cynicism and coolness. We risk our emotional security by opening our hearts to the possibility of being broken. We risk our intellectual certainty by venturing into the boundless realm of mystery. But the reward for this risk is immeasurable. The reward is reality itself. The reward is the direct, unmediated, and ecstatically blissful experience of the divine love that is the very fabric of existence. The caravan moves forward only because its travelers are a procession of the brave, the ones who have chosen the perilous freedom of the open desert over the safe but deadening confinement of the city walls. They have chosen the burning, transformative fire of love over the cold, hollow comfort of the ego. And in that courageous choice, they discover a strength that the world can neither understand nor defeat. As the journey with the caravan progresses, the traveler learns to read the world in a new language. The universe ceases to be a random collection of objects and events and becomes a living, breathing text, a unified field of meaning where everything is a symbol pointing back to the one underlying reality. This is the art of symbolic interpretation, a cornerstone of the mystic's worldview. The outer world is understood to be a mirror of the inner world. A sudden storm in the desert is not just a meteorological event, it reflects a turmoil in the soul. Finding a hidden spring of clear water represents a moment of spiritual clarity and grace. The sage is the ultimate master of this symbolic language. His poetry is a vast, enchanted forest of metaphors, each one a key that can unlock a hidden chamber in the palace of the soul. We have already spoken of the wine, the tavern, the beloved, the moth, and the flame. But the symbols are endless, a rich and interwoven tapestry. The rose, with its intricate beauty and intoxicating fragrance, represents the beloved's face, the manifestation of divine beauty in the world. The thorn, sharp and painful, represents the hardships and heartbreaks one must endure to reach that beauty. The nightingale is the soul of the lover, forever singing its poignant song of longing for the rose. The vast, deep ocean is the infinite, undifferentiated divine reality, while the foam on the waves, beautiful but transient, represents the fleeting forms of the material world. The sun is the divine light, the ultimate source of all life and knowledge, a light so brilliant that it both illuminates and blinds. The moon is the reflected light of the sun, representing the spiritual master who does not shine with their own light, but perfectly reflects the light of the beloved to the disciple. The mirror is the polished heart of the mystic. When it is cleansed of the dust of ego and conditioning, it can perfectly reflect the face of the beloved. Even the game of chess becomes a profound metaphor for the spiritual path, with the seeker as a humble pawn moving across the checkered board of life, surrendering completely to the will of the great player, hoping to eventually reach the other side and be transformed, to be united with the beloved. Learning this language is like discovering the secret script of the universe. It allows the seeker to find profound meaning in every experience, to see the hidden hand of the beloved at work in every circumstance. Nothing is random. Nothing is meaningless. Every event, whether we label it good or bad, is a message, a lesson, a love letter from the divine. The world is transformed from a chaotic marketplace into a sacred text, and our life becomes the sacred art of learning to read it. The traveler in the caravan becomes a poet, not necessarily by writing verses, but by living a poetic life. A life that perceives the deep symbolic resonance in all things. A life that is engaged in a constant, intimate, and loving dialogue with the mystery. The air in the caravan is thick with stories. They are told around the crackling campfire at night, whispered from one traveler to another during the long, silent marches of the day. The sage's great teaching masterpiece is a testament to the transformative power of story. It is a vast, sprawling, and seemingly chaotic collection of fables, anecdotes, jokes, parables, and sacred tales, all woven together to illustrate the subtle and often paradoxical truths of the spiritual path. He understood a secret that modern education has forgotten. The heart learns best not through dry, abstract concepts, but through narrative. A story can bypass the cynical defenses of the intellect and plant a seed of truth directly in the fertile soil of the soul. One of his most famous stories is that of the elephant in the dark room. A group of people who have never encountered an elephant are brought into a completely dark room where one is kept. Each person touches a different part of the animal in the darkness. The one who touches the massive leg says, "An elephant is like a pillar." The one who touches the broad flapping ear says, "No, it is like a large fan." The one who touches the long flexible trunk insists, "You are both wrong. It is like a thick pipe." They all begin to argue, each one absolutely convinced that their own limited, partial experience represents the whole truth. The elephant, the sage explains, is the divine reality. We, in our spiritual darkness, can only grasp a small part of it. The person who feels the leg is not wrong. A part of the reality is indeed like a pillar, but they mistake the part for the whole. This is the root cause of all religious and philosophical conflict. The only way to see the whole elephant in all its magnificent unity is to bring a candle into the room. The candle is the light of direct spiritual insight, the luminous flame of divine love. Only with that light can we see how all the partial truths, the pillar, the fan, the pipe fit together into a single, awe-inspiring reality. This story teaches us the secret of humility. It reminds us that our own understanding is inherently limited. It encourages us to respect the partial truths held by others, knowing that they too are touching a part of the same great, mysterious animal. Another powerful story is that of the lover who knocks on the beloved's door. A voice from within asks, "Who is it?" The lover, full of his own identity and importance, replies, "It is I." The voice from within says, "There is no room in this house for you and me. Go away." The lover goes away and spends years in the desert of spiritual practice, burning away his sense of self in the fire of longing. Finally, he returns and knocks again. The voice asks, "Who is it?" This time, the lover, emptied of self, replies, "It is you." And the voice says, "Now you may enter." This simple story contains the entire essence of the mystical path. The secret is the annihilation of the I, the false self, so that only the you of the beloved remains. These stories are the living provisions for the journey. They are the food for the soul that sustains the travelers in the caravan through the long and often arduous desert crossing. They are mirrors in which we can see our own struggles, our own follies, and our own divine potential. And they are maps, not of the outer world, but of the inner landscape, showing us the way forward. A strange and beautiful music permeates the caravan. It is the sound of drums beating like a universal heart, of reed flutes crying with a sweet sorrow, of voices raised in songs of ecstatic love. But it is also the sound of unrestrained laughter and of cleansing weeping. It is the music of the soul in all its myriad states. For the sage, music and dance are not mere diversions or entertainments. They are powerful spiritual technologies, direct pathways to the experiential reality of the divine. He himself is known for initiating the sacred practice of the turning or whirling dance. The legend says that after the devastating disappearance of his spiritual soulmate, the sage was walking through the marketplace and heard the rhythmic hammering of the goldsmiths. In that simple, percussive beat, he heard the secret name of the beloved being repeated over and over. He was thrown into a state of ecstatic trance and began to turn, to whirl for hours. The turning dance is a profound physical enactment of a cosmic truth. The dancer, with one hand pointing up to the heavens to receive divine grace and the other hand pointing down to the earth to bestow that grace upon the world, becomes a living conduit between the spiritual and material realms. As they turn on their own axis, they are mirroring the orbit of the planets around the sun. But more importantly, they are circling the still, silent point of the divine presence within their own heart. The dance is a form of active meditation. The goal is to lose the self in the rhythm, in the movement, to become so dizzy with love that the ego, with its constant need for control, simply gives up and dissolves. What remains is not a person dancing, but the dance itself. It is a physical prayer, a way of expressing a longing and a love that is too deep, too vast for mere words. The poetry itself is a form of music. In its original language, it has a powerful incantatory rhythm. It is meant to be chanted, to be sung, to be felt in the body as a vibration. The poems are not just a collection of clever ideas. They are energetic transmissions designed to alter the state of consciousness of the listener, to bypass the critical, analytical mind and resonate directly with the soul. The traveler in the caravan learns to listen to the music of existence itself. The sound of the wind rustling through the leaves, the sound of water flowing over stones, the sound of their own heartbeat in the deep silence of the night. All of these are part of the divine symphony. They learn that joy and sorrow are not opposites to be sought or avoided, but are two essential notes in the same beautiful melancholy chord. The weeping of the reed flute for its lost home in the reed bed is a sad sound, but it is also a profoundly beautiful one. The laughter that erupts from a heart that is overflowing with love is a joyful sound, but it can also bring tears to the eyes. The path of love embraces all of it. It is a dance that is danced with the whole of one's being. It is a song that is sung with the whole of one's heart. It is this sacred music that leads the caravan, the rhythm that keeps it moving forward through the darkest of nights, the melody that promises a final, harmonious resolution in the arms of the beloved. The long journey with the caravan, through the desert of unknowing, through the fire of transformation, eventually leads the traveler to the edge of a great abyss. This is the chasm that separates the known from the unknown, the finite mind from the infinite mystery. This is the place of the final, terrifying, and ultimate surrender. And the key to crossing this abyss, the secret bridge, is a single, powerful, and often tragically misunderstood word: love. But this is not the sentimental, conditional, and often selfish emotion that our culture typically calls love. In the sage's language, it is a cosmic force, the fundamental, creative energy of the universe itself. It is the fire that burns away the self. It is the ocean that dissolves the drop. It is the sun that joyfully incinerates the moth. It is a love that is at once terrifying and blissful, a love that destroys and creates in the very same breath. To choose this path of love is to choose a path of radical annihilation. It is to stand at the edge of the abyss and to say, I am willing to cease to exist as a separate self, so that the beloved may exist fully in my place. This is the highest and most difficult station of the journey. It requires a trust that is absolute, a faith that is beyond all reason. It is the lover at the door finally understanding that there is no I to enter, only a you to be entered into. It is the ultimate letting go. This love is not something we do. It is something we allow to be done to us. It is a state of being possessed, of being completely overtaken by a power that is infinitely greater than ourselves. The lover on this path no longer has a personal will. Their will has become perfectly aligned with the will of the beloved. Their desires are the beloved's desires. Their actions are the beloved's actions. They have become an empty vessel, a hollow reed through which the divine can play its celestial music. And this love is inherently creative. When the blockages of the ego and the self are removed, the creative energy of the universe can flow through unimpeded. This is the secret source of the sage's poetic genius. He was not a clever man writing poems about love. He was love itself, writing poems through the surrendered vessel of a man. This is why the poetry feels so alive, so potent, so timeless. It comes directly from the source. The experience of this cosmic love transcends all religious forms. It is the esoteric, beating heart of all true spirituality, The Christian mystic in ecstatic union with Christ, the Hindu devotee dissolving in love for Krishna, the Buddhist bodhisattva filled with boundless compassion for all beings. They are all swimming in the same infinite ocean of love, even if they call it by different names. The sage's genius was to articulate this universal truth in a language so beautiful and so powerful that it could be understood by all. He built a tavern where lovers from all traditions could come and drink the same ecstatic wine. The caravan traveler, standing at the edge of the abyss, must make the final choice: to cling to the familiar, solid shore of the self, or to leap into the boundless, churning, and unpredictable ocean of love. The entire journey has been a preparation for this single moment. And when the leap is made, the traveler discovers the final secret: they have not fallen, but have been caught in an eternal embrace. They have not died, but have been born for the first time into true, everlasting life. Having taken the final leap into the shoreless ocean of love, the traveler discovers the secret of what the sage calls the religion of love. This religion has no book, no creed, no dogma, and no temple built of stone. It is a state of being. The religion of love is distinct from all other faiths, the sage declares. For lovers, God is their only creed and faith. This does not mean a rejection of other religions. The sage himself was a deeply devout scholar within his own tradition. It means that the lover has gone beyond the outer shell, the external forms of religion, to the inner, beating heart. They have found the one essence that gives life to all traditions. This essence is pure, unconditional love. The traveler who lives in this religion of love sees the world through the eyes of unity. They no longer categorize people by their creed, their race, their nation, or their beliefs. They see only fellow souls, fellow particles of the divine light, fellow lovers on the same journey home. The walls of separation that the ego and the world work so tirelessly to build have completely dissolved. This leads to a profound and effortless compassion. How can you harm another when you know in your very bones that they are not other? How can you judge another when you know that their struggles, their fears, and their secret longings are your own? The traveler now embodies the wisdom of the story of the elephant in the dark room. They see and honor the partial truth in all the different paths, knowing that they are all sincere, if limited, attempts to describe the same indescribable reality. They can worship in a mosque, a church, a synagogue, a temple, or a sacred grove in a forest, because they know the secret that the beloved is everywhere. Their worship is no longer confined to specific times or places. Their entire life becomes an act of worship, a continuous prayer. Every interaction is an opportunity to practice love, to be kind, to serve, to listen. They understand that the highest form of prayer is not asking for things, but living in a state of perpetual gratitude. Gratitude for the astonishing beauty of the world, for the precious gift of life, for the simple act of breathing, for the very existence of the beloved. This is a quiet, unassuming, and deeply humble path. The true lover of God does not advertise their piety. They do not wear a special uniform or seek a special status. They move through the world with a gentle grace and a profound humility. Their inner state of bliss radiating a quiet peace that can be felt by those around them, even if they cannot name it. They have become a walking, talking embodiment of the caravan's final destination, the field beyond all ideas of right and wrong, a field of pure, unconditional, all-embracing love. They no longer need to speak of the secret. They have become the secret. The journey of the caravan, like the poetry of the sage, is not a linear progression with a final static endpoint. It is a spiral, a dance. The traveler, having reached the still, silent center, the point of union, now begins to spiral outwards again, bringing the light and wisdom of that center into every corner of their life. The journey is eternal because the exploration of the beloved's infinite nature is an endless joy. The caravan never truly stops. The traveler has learned the great secret that the destination was never a place, but a way of traveling. They have learned how to travel through life with an open heart, with profound surrender, and with a love that embraces everything. And this new way of traveling can be applied to every moment, every challenge, every joy. The difficulties of the world do not magically disappear. There is still pain, there is still loss, there is still injustice. But the traveler now has a completely different relationship to these things. They are no longer seen as threats to their peace or as evidence of a flawed universe. They are seen as opportunities to practice love more deeply, to grow more fully. A difficult person is no longer an annoyance. They are a teacher of patience and compassion. A moment of profound loss is no longer a tragedy. It is a lesson in detachment and a reminder of the transient nature of all forms. An act of injustice is no longer a cause for rage and despair. It is a call to compassionate action. The traveler becomes a warrior of the heart, fighting not with swords of steel, but with the invincible weapons of kindness, forgiveness, and understanding. They are engaged in what the mystics call the greater battle, the inner struggle against the darkness of the ego, not an outer struggle against an external enemy. The sage's own life is the perfect model for this. He experienced the most profound loss imaginable, the sudden and mysterious disappearance of his spiritual soulmate. But he did not let this devastating grief destroy him. He did something miraculous. He transformed it into one of the world's greatest monuments to love, a torrent of poetry that has nourished souls for centuries. He turned his own personal wound into a universal medicine. This is the final task, the secret art of the traveler in the caravan, to become an alchemist of the soul, to learn how to take the lead of their own suffering, their own pain, their own limitations, and transform it into the pure gold of wisdom and compassion. And then to share that gold freely and generously with the world. They become a source of nourishment for other travelers, a living story that encourages others to begin their own journey into the heart. They are a signpost in the desert, a cup of clear, cool water for the thirsty, a quiet, living confirmation that the caravan is real, that the journey is possible, and that the beloved is waiting with infinite patience and boundless love for every single one of us to finally come home. The ultimate teaching of the caravan, the secret that lies at the heart of all the other secrets, is one of integration. It is the sacred marriage of heaven and earth, of the spiritual and the material, of the infinite and the finite. The journey is not and never was about escaping the world. It is about infusing the world with the sacred. It is about coming to the profound realization that our human body, with all its messy desires, its limitations, and its inevitable decay, is not a prison for the soul, but a holy temple. It is the very instrument through which the divine can experience its own magnificent creation. This is a deeply, radically embodied spirituality. It is not found in abstract thoughts, but in the ecstatic dance of the dervish, in the sorrowful breath of the flute player, in the vibrant rhythm of the poet's verse. It is a spirituality that celebrates the senses, that finds God in the taste of fresh bread, the scent of a jasmine flower, the touch of a lover's hand. The false, ancient dichotomy between the body and the spirit is finally healed. They are seen not as warring opposites, but as two wings of the same magnificent bird. You need both to fly. The traveler who has completed the spiral journey and returned to the world does not look or act in a way that is conspicuously spiritual. They are not floating a few inches off the ground, speaking in hushed tones. They are deeply, wonderfully, and gloriously human. They laugh with their whole body. They weep without shame. They work, they play, they love, they make mistakes. But they do all of these things from a different center. They are anchored in the deep, quiet, unshakable peace of their own divine nature. They have learned the subtle art of being in the world without being consumed by it. They can fully engage with the drama of life, with all its passions and its comedies, without losing their connection to the still, silent witness within. This is the art of spiritual maturity. It is the ability to hold the paradox, to be both the wave and the ocean at the very same time. This is why the sage's message is so enduring and so universally powerful. It is not a life-denying philosophy that asks us to reject our messy, beautiful humanity. It is a profoundly life-affirming vision that asks us to embrace our humanity so fully, so courageously, so passionately, and so lovingly that it becomes the very doorway to the divine. The caravan has taught us the final secret. The goal is not to become angels or ghosts. The goal is to become fully, divinely human. The goal is to realize that this very life, this very body, this very world, this very moment is the sacred destination we have been searching for all along. The journey ends exactly where it began. But everything has changed because we have changed. The exile is over. We are, at long last, home. And so we stand here at what seems like the end of our story, but is really just the threshold of a new and true beginning. We have followed the caravan's dusty trail across the desert of the self. We have passed through the purifying fire of transformation, and we have entered the fragrant, ever-blooming garden of the heart. We have listened to a poetry that is not mere ink on a page, but a living voice, a compassionate friend who has taken our hand and guided us through the darkest nights of the soul, whispering encouragement, sharing secrets. What is the final secret that this entire journey reveals? What is the one truth that all the others orbit around? It is breathtakingly, almost shockingly simple. It is that you are loved, not because you are good, not because you are worthy, not because you have earned it through spiritual striving or pious acts. You are loved unconditionally and infinitely, simply because you exist. Your very existence is a testament to the Beloved's love. You are not a flawed creation. You are a love letter written by the divine to itself. You are woven from the very fabric of that love. This is the truth that lies beneath all the stories, all the symbols, all the paradoxes, all the poetry. It is the ultimate and only answer to the soul's deepest, most persistent question. And this love is not a gentle, passive, sentimental thing. It is a wild, creative, dynamic, and untamable force. It is the energy that spins the galaxies in their silent cosmic dance. It is the energy that pushes the green shoots up through the hard earth in the spring. It is the energy that beats your own heart right now, in this moment. And it is this very same energy that is calling to you, pulling you, urging you to wake up from the long, sorrowful dream of separation and to remember who you truly are. The caravan is a metaphor for this irresistible pull, this cosmic tide of love that is always, always, always flowing homeward. Our only real choice is whether we spend our lives fighting against the current, struggling to stay in the shallow waters of the ego, or whether we have the courage to surrender, to let go, and to allow the great river of love to carry us back to the ocean of our true self. The sage's legacy is not a philosophy to be studied with the mind, but an experience to be lived with the whole of one's being. He did not leave behind a rigid system of thought, but a living song. A song that is still being sung in the hearts of those who are thirsty for something real, something that can quench the deep thirst of the soul. He lit a candle more than 7 centuries ago, and its flame has never been extinguished. It has been passed from hand to hand, from heart to heart, across cultures and continents and languages, and its light shines now, in our own time, a time so full of noise and distraction and fear, as a brilliant beacon of hope. It is a reminder of a different way to be human. It reminds us that the greatest and most rewarding adventure is the inner adventure. It reminds us that the only true and lasting wealth is the love we discover in the depths of our own hearts. And it reminds us, most importantly, that the caravan of love is always departing. Its doors are always open, waiting for anyone, anywhere, who has the courage to finally answer the call, to take that first terrifying step, and to begin the beautiful, difficult, and ultimately joyful journey home. The final echo of the caravan's long and transformative journey settles not in the mind as a new set of ideas, but in the body as a new way of breathing. It is a quietening, a settling, a coming to rest. the grand and epic landscapes of the soul's pilgrimage. The vast deserts, the raging fires, the shoreless oceans, all resolve into the simple, sacred geography of the present moment. Having traversed the entire symbolic universe, the traveler discovers the ultimate secret. The entire universe is contained within a single, conscious breath. This is the profound portability of the sage's wisdom. It does not require a special temple, a special book, or a special ritual. The temple is your body. The ritual is your breath. To breathe in is to receive the infinite grace and love of the beloved. To breathe out is to offer your gratitude and your love back to the world. This simple, rhythmic, and effortless exchange becomes the central spiritual practice, the perpetual silent dance that keeps the traveler attuned to the subtle music of the divine. The past, with all its heavy ghosts of regret and its faded stories of triumph, has been burned to ash in the transformative fire. The future, with all its shimmering mirages of hope and its dark clouds of anxiety, has been surrendered. All that remains is the vibrant, luminous, and infinitely deep reality of the now. And in this eternal now, the beloved is always present. There is no separation, there is no distance, there is no need for seeking, there is only being. The traveler learns to listen to the silence that underlies all sound. This is not an empty, dead silence. It is a full and pregnant silence, a fertile void. It is the silent source from which all of creation, every galaxy, every symphony, every thought emerges. The sage called this the silent speaker. To learn to hear it is to understand everything without a single word ever being spoken. The mind's frantic need for answers, for explanations, for a neat conceptual understanding of the mystery finally dissolves. In its place comes a quiet, trusting, and joyful participation in the mystery itself. Life is no longer a problem to be solved. It becomes a poem to be lived. And the traveler themselves becomes a poem, a unique and unrepeatable expression of the divine artistry. They move through the world not with a heavy sense of solemn purpose, but with a light and playful spirit. They have become the sincere drunkard of the tavern, intoxicated with the breathtaking beauty of the ordinary, laughing with a secret joy that the sober, serious, and cynical world can never comprehend. This is the final gift of the caravan, the ultimate secret remembered. It is not an escape from life, but a deeper, more intimate, more passionate, and more loving engagement with it. It is the discovery that paradise is not a distant place to be reached after death, but a state of consciousness that is available right here, right now, to anyone who has the eyes to see and the heart to receive it. The journey is complete. The traveler is home. And home is everywhere.